Hey everybody, welcome to the Wednesday Word. This week we're talking about Google search bars and questioning God. Before we get into that, we're going to talk about what we're reading this week. So we took a look at Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, whenever he prays to God, and he asks God about this plan of salvation that God has laid out. Jesus is questioning that. So we talked about that on Monday with the Monday meditation. If you want to read through those verses, go there and read along with me as we kind of dig into that. But for today, we're going to start talking about what does Google have to do with questioning God. So whenever I go to Google, I have two real reasons I'm going to Google. One is I had some random thought pop into my head, some random idea that I wanted to look up. Maybe it's some random fact I was curious about or something I saw on the internet I'm going to do a quick search on, whatever it is. With those questions, I may be digging into that for 10, 15, 20 seconds. If I can't find an answer pretty quick, I'm probably just going to be like, you know what? It ain't that big a deal. I'm just going to move on with my life, right? Not a serious question that I'm really digging into. On the other hand, if I go to Google and I have something I'm really trying to figure out, I might spend 10, 15, 20 minutes trying to figure out the right answer. Maybe I'm trying to fix something in my car. Maybe I'm trying to figure out how to do some home project. Maybe I'm trying to learn how to do something new on my computer. Whatever it is, I will spend time digging into that to really get a good answer. With that, sometimes we ask God questions. We wonder if God, maybe we hear something from one of our friends, some verse out of context, or maybe it's just a story that we had never heard before, or maybe we're reading the Bible ourselves and we have some story that we come across and we're like, why is this in the Bible? What is this about? What does this mean for my life today? All these questions happen as we're digging into God's Word. Thing is, regardless of the reason behind digging into those questions, the thing is that Jesus shows us here in this story is that it's not bad to ask them. You see, Jesus, whenever he goes to the Father and he's asking God, is there another way to do this? He's showing us that there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, God, why is this happening? Why is this in the Bible? What are we learning from this? What is the purpose behind this? That's what Jesus is saying here. He's saying there's nothing wrong with digging into God's Word and doing that deep search, like when you're on the internet trying to figure out a deep problem. It's the same kind of thing. There's nothing wrong with really digging into God's Word and really questioning, man, why is this in here? What is this doing here? What is the purpose behind this thing? Jesus does that in the garden, and God. Now, the thing is also about that, Jesus accepts the answer that he receives, which is really the harder part, because it's one thing to dig around on the internet and to try to figure out an answer, but if I don't like the answer, that's really the tougher part. Is to really, maybe I'm trying to figure out some car thing, and the answer is that I have to do a bunch of stuff, and it's a totally complicated problem, and I'm like, dude, I don't like that answer. Sometimes it's the same way whenever we go to the Bible, we dig into these questions, we don't like the answer that the Bible gives back to us, that God gives back to us. But that's what Jesus shows us here, is that asking the question, questioning, and trying to get the answer, nothing wrong with that. But Jesus also accepts the answer, which is that, yes, this is the way this has to go. Jesus has to go to the cross. Jesus has to go to the cross to die on the cross and then to rise again to new life. That's what God's answer is. This is what is going to happen. And Jesus accepts that. So how can we in the same kind of idea take these questions that we have, dig into God's Word, and then accept the answer, whatever that may be at the end? So that's the Wednesday Word, digging into these questions that we ask God, digging into understanding why we do that, and that's what we see here in the Garden of Gethsemane with Jesus. So I encourage you to spend some more time with this passage, think on it some more, and we'll see you all later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.